ta la len ka ya ga san ko len de pa lan de la len ke shu go ma go su un tu san san la ren mo ta ke ren te ya ko ze ne ta po de she go shu si wa li ya ni ja do shin ge ma ro la ga sing ge ya ta po ke yi ge lam ge yin na da ji de le ka yin ce lam ge ji ke ge ten je fo ta yin ce ke ge ten go wa ke na shu de ta po ke ge ten go ro su shu go ta le ta po ke ge ji she go de yin na mo su la len ta ya de
So, for example, any kind of, you can say, vocation training that you want to train yourself, for that at least we need some kind of teacher. And as well as, if we want to learn some kind of dharma, we need a teacher. And so, therefore, when we practice the dharma, you can say the karma is, like more like a teacher. And once you understand the karma, then there is a, you can say, and it's also develop your, you can say, energies and energy towards the positive qualities, because once you understand the karma, which means that you understand the, you can say, the theme of the, you can say, dharma. So that's why it's very important for us to have a, you can say, teacher, and here karma acts as a teacher for us. If you do that, and you will come up, you will get that. So karma actually means action, or whatever the action you do, and you will get the result. So that's why we say that the karma is more like a teacher, because of so whatever the activities that we engaged, it's totally depend on karma, in a sense that because every action there is a reaction. So likewise, and every action there is a result. So that's why by understanding karma, and we can able to confess or to purify the negativities that we accumulated, and to generate the positive qualities in within us. This is how we develop our minds, by relying on karma. So, why I'm giving more significance to karma is that, so one is, you can say, about, one is happened to be, you can say, die. Now, in the very moment he's going to die, in that moment. And in that very certain moment, he generates some kind of, you can say, like a negative thoughts in within us. And that very moment, and he needs to refuge. That's the essence of refuge. So, why we say that it's very necessary to have a refuge is that even though if we practice well, so practice well from our whole throughout the lives, so in the time that we are about to passing into the peace of mind, and that moment, if you just lose your direction of mind to the, you can say, towards the negative, then that moment it becomes a lot of negativities. So, and that moment is very important for us to rely on the refuge. So that's why we say that the refuge is very important.
다 대담지 전년 저와시만 담면서 마지막 잠시 중은 대담지 제도 대담지 중화적인 거라도 쳐요 말아. 저와시만 가서 마지막 잠정하고도 쳐셔봐 세고 쳐요 말했어.
So in this very moment, if we do practice a karma just only for the sake of us, not to reborn in a, you can say, lower realm or unfortunate realm, and that is not enough for us. That's not our target. So we have a wider target than that. So that's why it's very important for us to practice karma really well, the while you have the opportunity and privilege.
당연한 최신들이야. 지난다 가사선 그 상황을 기고 때가 올 때, 다들 이거도 기고 중등 조성사라. 이 가라서는 춘념의 생결이야 아니 기고 스타즈. 춘념의 생결이야 아니 냐면 다 저처럼 하도 가서 좋아지면은 내서 맞지 잠시 통근들이야 아니 다 최신의 나는 조표 탑 조표리 기고 중을 합시다. 대담지 기고 중을 좋아지면 별 하도 미고 막 통근 좀 대담지면서 심해 통근들이야 아니 기부 증거를 남겨놓은 생계를 합시다. 세상은 굴릉이네 다래. 대담지 기와정을 밀고 마토야 가지고 대화시에서는 지체도 지금 인생을 취해서는 그 굴릉들의 취해진 기부는 기부 충족 굴릉을 기부 충족 굴릉 충족으로 거다.
So in this very life, you know, we will come across a different kind of happiness. It's according to the person or the being himself or herself. But if we do practice atama only for the sake of that, not reborn in the in the lower realm, and that is be considered as a small scope being. There are three different kinds of scopes: greater scope, middling scope, and small scope. So one who practices for the sake of only not to be born in the lower level, and that kind of person we consider as small scope. And those who practice a dharma to setting a target to liberation and enlightenment, and that is be considered as greater scope. So that is the actual happiness. That's the real happiness. So the real practice is that we need to understand the enemy which is within ourselves. And normally we consider it just, because of the physical gestures, and we happen to be considered oneself externally, and this is our enemy, but it's not the real enemy. The real enemy is which is inside of us. So once we are able to remove this real enemy within us, the root of samsara, three poisonous things, so then we can say that he's a real practitioner. And then we consider that he's the one who understands Dharma. So until or unless the form that we have engage in the activities of karma and karma and delusions, then we say that that we are samsaric being. Once ourself is ourself of whatever, that is just away from the delusions of karma, and that is the, you can say, the actual goal, which is, like liberation or enlightenment. So that's why we say that we need to set a target to remove these karma and delusions and to lead ourselves to the enlightenment. So from these two, karma and delusions, even though you have a karma, if your mind is not too deluded, then there's no way and no chance to be fallen in samsara. But if there happen to be that, which is, you can say, happen to be engaged in your mind is, and happen to be engaged in a deluded, this kind of person, then show that, and we are still in samsara. So, within delusion, there are so many different kinds of delusions. One of the most profound negative delusions, that is the grasping at object as truly existence. Or you can say, that within the delusion, the transitory collections. Within the transitory collections, you can say, do you have such a grasping? What kind of grasping? The grasping at object as truly existent. That is the worst and most negative delusion that we have, ever we have. Grasping at object as truly existent. So, even though there is one object, and for that very object, there are two different kind of angles to understand that object. And from the one angle, and we understand, we know that this object is, that exists from its own side. From the one angle, we say that this object exists just in a conventional level, which means just imputed by your mind, or just a designation, or in other sense that just imputed in the conventional level. So there are two different kind of angle to understand, to know that. But why? And from we, you can say, ordinary beings like us, and we just take it guaranteed that it exists from its own side. But the mode of existence of that thing is empty of that inherent existence, or just an imputation of your mind. Nothing exists from its own side. So, for that very particular object, because of their understanding, and some says that there is a self, the grasping at self, which they think that is access from his own side. They really don't understand the mode of that existence. And from the one prospect, they say that it's empty of its inherent existence. So for that very prospect, we say that selflessness. To understand the selflessness of the mode of that existence, and for that we need such a wisdom. That wisdom is called the primordial wisdom awareness. That primordial wisdom awareness understand the real mode of that existence, and which understand like is empty of that inherent existence.
제가 더 다음 것도 보시로 더 거라 자와 주야 또 편지를 보시고요. 이게 또 이거 뒤에 뭐 이거 와서래 본바 때문에는 뭐 뚝뚝 말아.
So that's why we say that the primordial wisdom awareness is something more like a sword to cut the root of that samsara, which is the grasping at the object as truly existence, which means that we have such a grasping that is exists from its own side, which only understand by that primordial wisdom awareness. So it is we consider as a sword to cut from the root.
지금 또만 방법에는 야 가스를 쉬는 거 주고 말아봐. 주서 실로만 쉬는 신지역으로 대나시 지금 미국 제일 메인데 시신에 등에서 땡보고 그랬어.
So likewise, when we chopping the wood, and we need to chop the wood in a very particular point. If we just do one from root, one from top, there's no way to cut the chopping the wood. So likewise, we need a single pointed. When we are cutting the root of samsara, and we need to be single pointed, and that is to eradicate or to cut, and that grasping. What kind of grasping? I told you before, that grasping at the object as truly existence.
다들 지난은 누가 그저를 신해서 시에서는 영화 참여자 하는 그 마고바시 영화 청마시 미국 지를 내가 연장 신내서로 인지를 하서를 어떤 날씨에 인지고.
So when we cutting these kind of things, and the one should be in a very calm, abiding mind. In Sanskrit, it's called samadhi. So why it is called calm, abiding mind? One should be very calm. This calmness is something like a facility to understand that. So we use the calmness as a facility to what? To understand, to cut that one. So in that very moment, the one should be really calm, and your mind should be really calm, and its mode of abiding should be really in a very peaceful. So, and that is in Tibetan is called Hine, in Sanskrit Samadhi, and English is called calm abiding mind. It's a step.
어제는 나 영화 청와대 참모반 필요하시고 당고 영화 라와가야 영화 라바가야 남중을 하고 영화 라바데 간다가 엄보 고상마다 당디어와 그래서 영화를 엄조가 자태는 섬대 중도를 내가 수원세바도나 섬대 중도를 그래서 전체부터 섬대 중도를 나와서 대신받지 섬 중도를 엄보 가지고 어느 당시와 인상 더 인지 하는 거 때문에 내가 말아 그래서 당고야 영화를 바꿔야 시도 고숨지 담다 수준을 잡는다.
So when we are engaging in this calm abiding mind, there are two different kinds of disturbance. One is gross level of disturbance, and one is subtle level of disturbance. So gross level of disturbance is something that because of our sense organs, when you hear some beautiful, like very sweet song, and you will just lose your intentions. When you just come across very delicious taste, they're very kind of good smell, then you like finish your, nonsense. And likewise, when you see beautiful things and you sober your eyes and you lose your attentions. So that's why the first most important is that we have to cease the disturbance that we across through, you can say, like a tree, speech, and body.
Some live and but some ember temor. Embalatana, you want Tomoyan Shivas or embatemor, no embatemor, some embatemor, no embatene, and some embatene, some embamatana, some embatem, say embatantenants, no problem is last. Tell me what you think of the general.
So it's very important for us to, you can say, to remove this, like gross level of disturbance when we are engaging in a karma-binding mind. So at that time, especially when you are engaging in a karma-binding mind, it's very important for you to practice that in such a place which is very quiet and peace. It's away from city. And once you are away from this kind of very, like noisy place, and it's really help you to more concentrated. So that's why it's very important to be you can say, away from the cities. But the more important is that even though in the city, whatever, the noisy place, your mind should be very pinpointed.
What in Zangan, that is a lot of Lavasuma energy. Talago Motos to a time to the chet or no, Tamigo, Chikulun Chorasana, Tezamji, Chidanda Yataja, Yena, the ranch to Wemado, the ranch to wish you at on the New Sinjing to a Masama, what's why that was mentioned.
So, anyhow, if you practice that for the sake of liberate oneself from samsara, and that is being never considered as the Mahayana teachings, because one who practices to liberate oneself from samsara, and that time he only think about himself or herself. So because that they never consider, you can say consider for the benefit of other beings. So that's why we say that it's not a Mahayana teaching, or we say it's not a Mahayana thought.
Tabaco Tabana, the hands in this, as of God's in this, you delay, changing shit to Omara. Another Yana, changing the other one. The Tetam is not God's in it, or touch, go marry, God's in the other pair. I have Ransinzil had Ransinzil had the return, it was with follow me at.
So once, like one who practice just for the sake of self-liberation, and that time, it's true that one is liberate. That's only for the one who liberate. How he liberated from samsara is that because he just the one who is practicing that instead of such a motivation only to liberate oneself, and he didn't have such a greater motivation just for the sake of other beings. So that's why we say that it's not included in the part of Mahayana tradition. Even one who liberated from the samsara, or even who acquire a self-liberation, and which is not equivalent to that of, you can say, the path of accumulation from the perspective of Mahayana teaching. So that's why the ones who is unable to eradicate the self-cherishing thought, then who is no way and no chance to enter into the Mahayana path, even with the path of accumulation. So from the perspective of Mahayana, the main negation, or you can say the main thing to eliminate is the self-cherishing thought. So that's why we say that there is no way, no chance to enter into the, you can say, included in the part of Mahayana teaching. So, when we practice the Mahayana teachings, we always focus one thing, that is to cherish others. And we always focus one thing, to remove the self-cherishing thought. So, until one is unable to remove or eradicate the self-cherishing thought, there's no way and no chance to one to be in the Mahayana.
So regular answer the show simple, they was simple, she have a show that they was simple show the and they were simple mark.
So once we are practicing Mahayana, like teaching or practice, in that time, check yourself. If you have a self-cherishing thought, even though you are practicing Mahayana practice, but the yourself is not included in the Mahayana because the presence of that self-cherishing thought in within you or within ourselves.
There was a church we met around Pilaran, and the change in the Karamangato. They have always. The change in the Karamangato.
So, from the Mahayana perspective of view, they always just to balance the which quality that we have more, the quality of self-cherishing thought or the quality of cherishing others.
The change in the Magoduna, when it should never when it does begin in the Kazadi, Zasim charge this.
So, the ones we are able to find that we have a more point of self-cherishing thoughts in ourselves, and then this very particular mind of that being is regarded as very sacred and very holy, and as well as the form that he has, to which dwell the mind that cherishing other is really become very sacred. So once we are able to generate cherishing, you can say the cherishing to others, then there is no way to have a war, conflicts, battles, and so forth in this beautiful planet of Earth. So that's why it's very important for us to generate cherishing others. So whatever the practice that we do, and if we always engage in such a way that to neglect cherishing thought and to develop cherishing others, this kind of thought, then we are really practice Mahayana tradition. So once we happen to be engaged in cherishing others, and for that we have no need to say in a very concrete word like it is a bodhisattva act, but which is categorized in such a form that which is the act of bodhisattva, or we can say body mind. So once we are able to have or to generate such a thought like cherishing others, once you have this kind of mind, once you are reaching such a level of that, then if you sleep or you drink or if you do whatever, then it's your profit. So once you have once you reach in this kind of state, and that time if you do drink a lot of drinks and intoxicated, and it's not being included in the form of negativities, and it's a positive, because you already reach in such a level that you have such a level and you have such an energy that you can cherishing others in spontaneously, continuously. When you have this kind of state of mind, then if you do intoxication, whatever, and it's not translated into the negative activities.
寻寻这个了买了，这让现在前呢，现在买要我们这个多那些别的呢，贴下来什么？
So, excuse me. So, if you meditate, when you have such a mind to self-cherishing thought, if you do meditation day by day, year by year, like just continuously, like without any moving, like immovable or just temporary like tree, then it's nothing.
我就把现在的告诉他说，让自己那边他就个把扎点现在这个什么的结什么的结个些都，你就告诉他可能就能提完去了，可能去呢，能告诉他去年可能就要的事，这个就到去年呢，现在他就结了，吃到去年的人呢，你可能去年啊可能。
So it's very important to identify the biggest enemy from the perspective of Mahayana is self-cherishing thought. So that's why, so when you listen to the teaching, when you practice Dharma, and that very moment, every moment, continuously, it's very important for us to set aside a motivation to cherish others. And that is the proper teaching of Mahayana.